comfortable and living in a crowded house where I guess they couldn't social distance. So locally, it's been lifted. Federally, it's still in place, but there's a whole process for this federal eviction ban. So I didn't see anything on the local court's latest guidance. They released like a memo about what their operations are. Oh yeah, Justice Amy Barrett. There you go. 741, Dafne Shimizu, Rev Tax Director in the KUAM News Zoom room. Good morning, Dafne.
Happy day, Chris. Happy day, Jason. Happy day, Guam.
Good morning.
Let's just go ahead and get right into it because I know you're a busybody. Can we just start with maybe a STIMI update? Because I saw you guys had released some straggler STIMI checks a few days ago.
Absolutely. So we're at, I believe we paid out a little bit over $213 million so far. And as you see, I think we were at about $1.5 million average a week for maybe like 5 weeks or a little bit over a month. And now we're seeing the amounts drop. I believe we paid out about $800,000 in this last week, and we're continuing to pay. Of course, we pay weekly. There are still people who may have not filed or may have needed to provide documents so that their return could be a status, and so those are the ones that we're still paying out. But we believe we paid the majority out. But again, you know what? If you have not received your EIP-3 and you have not filed your return, we're still working to process those. And so we have until December 31, 2021 to pay out EIP-3 payments. Now we are beginning to pay, or we did begin to pay since February, those rebate recovery credits. So we are seeing people file their 2020 return to receive. Remember, if you recall, for EIP 1 and 2, if you did not receive it in 2021, if you did not receive EIP 1 or 2, and we've already hit, of course, December 31, 2020 was the last day for us to pay EIP 1. March 19, 2021 was the last day for us to pay EIP 2. So for those individuals who did not receive EIP 1 or 2 by those dates, they could file their 2020 return, claim their rebate recovery credit on the return so they could be paid those amounts. And we have been paying those again since February. Just want to remind everybody, though, that the rebate recovery credit is not automatic. And we are seeing some people come in and, of course, have to amend their return, and it causes some challenges as well because, again, when you amend your return, it changes the date of filing. So we don't get to, we process in order that we receive, right? First in, first out. So, as a reminder to everybody, if you have not, if you did not include, or you haven't filed your return yet, or have filed your return yet, and you haven't included the rebate recovery credit, please make sure that you do so that you avail of that benefit. Again, because, the mechanism for being paid the rebate recovery credit, if you did not receive EIP 1 or 2, is your 2020 return. So you have to include it in your 2020 return so we could pay those out. And again, we are seeing some people who, unfortunately, for whatever reason, are not including those amounts on their tax return. And, that just delays getting them those monies. So if you could, just as a reminder to everybody to do that.
Okay, can we switch to tax refund status?
Yay, absolutely. So, one thing that's really, really exciting, and I wanted to share, we were looking at, the fiscal team was looking at refunds and comparing where we were June 2020 to June 2021 as of last week. And we had, I believe that we had paid out as of last week, just shy of 160 million, I believe, about 157 million or so dollars in refunds in this fiscal year. And so when we compare with 2020, we actually at that time had in June 2020, as of that point, we paid only about a little bit over 50 million. So we're really at like 3 times the amount of refunds in terms of, payouts of refunds this year when we compare to last year. And that's hugely exciting. And that means that, of course, we've paid out, refunds more quickly. And of course, people have been able to, receive their monies earlier than last year if you filed already. So, that's really exciting. I believe that we had paid out through March 30 in the last week. We just did a check run last night, and so we'll do the media release today. I believe that check right brings us to April 4. So it's great. We're really, doing our best to move forward. And so, we can get payments out. What we're seeing now, though, Chris and Jason, is that the amount of refunds that we're going to be paying out through the next few weeks is likely going to be dropping. And that's not because we're not processing. It's because what we're seeing now is as we get into the month of April, a lot of the returns are not returns with refunds. A lot of the returns now are returns that are either zero returns, or we call them BTDs, but that means that they have a balance due or they have a tax liability. So, when we're going to see now, again, going forward, that probably our refund amounts on a weekly basis may be dropping. Again, it's not because we're not processing. It's not because we're, of course, we work with Department of Administration on the cash flow, but it's just because now what we're seeing is a lot of the returns are not refund returns. A lot of the people who have refunds, of course, they file earlier, and this is in general. And so usually what we see is the people who file later are the people who owe, and the people who file earlier are the people who receive refunds. And so, again, we're just getting into that point where a lot of the returns are not refund returns anymore.
Daph, let's say that someone owes, because you're talking about, what did you say, B2D?
Yeah, BTD, balance tax due, or
Okay.
balance. Yeah,
So
so
let's say
a liability return.
Right. So let's say you have a bill with Rev Tax and you're supposed to get a refund for X amount of dollars, but you owe, let's say, just theoretically, you owe 5,000, your refund's 7,000. When that 5,000 gets taken, what happens to the balance? Does it get rolled over, or is a separate check cut? What's that process?
Sorry. So, do you mean that if you owe taxes to Rev Tax?
Yeah.
Okay. So, so if you owe, your example is you owe 5,000, or you have a tax due of 5,000, but your refund is 7,000. What happens?
Yeah, if you have extra.
So we do garnishments, or what we call internally, they're called tax offsets. And so if you do have a liability to the department, and also, as you know, if you have a liability due to to child support,
Right.
to the AG's office for child support, or to GMH as well for an outstanding account with GMH, we do garnishments. And so, we do make sure that those are paid. We do not have control over the files that come from GMH, or the files that come from the AG's office. We receive those directly from those particular agencies. But if you do have a tax due, or if you do have an amount that's going to be garnished, we go ahead and garnish those amounts. And actually, what the process is, just to kind of clarify, at Rev Tax, we print out the refund checks, or we advise or provide the direct deposit register to the Department of Administration, Treasurer of Guam, for them to make payments. And so Rev Tax actually does not ever see the money. The Department of Administration, the Treasurer of Guam, is really the signatory. She is the one that manages and is responsible for the bank accounts for the government of Guam line agencies, right? So that is the Treasurer's responsibility. Rev Tax here, we go ahead and make sure that we provide the data to the Treasurer, so that the monies for garnishments, whether it's GMH, Rev Tax garnishments, or the AG's office for child support, those garnishments, that those are properly remitted or transmitted to the agencies, and that people's accounts get properly adjusted for those. And so, if you have a $5,000 tax balance, and you have a refund of 7,000, you'll still get the $2,000 refund, or $2,000, but the $5,000 will be retained, and that will be offset against your outstanding balance of taxes. And tax refunds are garnishable. We are allowed to, by law, if you have an amount, we're allowed to do what's called a tax offset.
Daph, so I think it was last month, DOA released the list of unclaimed EIP, was it EIP 1 and tax refunds list? Are you guys sending them any more info on any other unclaimed, or is that a DOA thing?
So how it will work, that's really more a Department of Administration function, I guess, because, it's the Department of Administration. And of course, I kind of pull from my own experience in accounting and finance, because that's the type of work that I had done in my past experience. And so, of course, the Department of Administration does all the bank reconciliations. They all manage all of our bank accounts. They know, of course, through the bank recons that they do, probably on a monthly basis, what amounts are outstanding. And so they generate that list, and they're able to provide that. And, of course, I believe there was about $12 million in amounts that were in checks that were not claimed for whatever reason. My understanding is that some of those payments were for, people who may have passed away. And so, of course, that's something that their administrator, their estates will have to address, or, deal with. But there's various reasons why a person may not have received their check. We saw some people who we saw some situations where people may not have received it, even though it went out in the mail and it went to the correct address, and that Treasurer of Guam didn't actually receive the check back either. So, what I recommend to everyone is to get on the portal, to go ahead and go to myguamtax.com to check whether or not you have a check that has been processed for you for EIP 1 or 2. And if you have, and if you haven't received that check, to go ahead and contact the Department of Administration to find out whether or not they have received that check back in the mail. It's important, though, to note, Chris, that the checks are valid for 1 year, and so there might be some checks that are still valid and still can be presented and honored when you go to the bank because they're less than a year. But there are some that may have to be reissued, of course, because we did begin to make payments for EIP 1 back in April 2020. So for those that are 1 year, more than a year or more, they will have to be reissued.
Daph, I just got a call about the Rise Act, and I know we had you on last time, and you were preemptively working on the application for this. But man, they're thirsty for this Rise Act payment, Daph, and
right. And what we're doing now, and in fact, we've been working on a draft guidance, and if you saw, Gita did provide some guidance ahead of the ARP guidance that we're receiving for the program, a program that they're running. We're going to do something similar. We're targeting to get that guidance out by the end of the week, which is tomorrow. I've been going back and forth with, of course, Comms, Crystal Paco, just to make sure that, our release and the information in our release is accurate and that we're communicating. I'm thankful to Crystal as well, because, of course, we don't have the in-house communications person. So she helps to make sure that our message as we send the messages out are clear. And so, helps to reduce a lot of the confusion. And so we've been going back and forth with Crystal. And so I expect that we'll have some more information on the Rise Act and the guidance and the documents that will be required by tomorrow. And it won't be the application form because, of course, we will not open the application form until we receive the final ARP guidance. And also, but we will be working to provide just general guidance so people know what documents they will need if they want to apply for the Rise Act. And just to kind of recap what's required, and if you just here, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of go through it. In terms of eligibility, this particular program is open to all Guam taxpayers who filed a Guam 1040 income tax return for 2020 or alternately filed and have validly filed and processed 2019 return. It's also open to people who may not have filed but who receive Form SSA 1099 because they are a Social Security or other federal benefit recipient, and that is for 2020 or 2019. And it's as well for those individuals who may have not had to file a return because they were non-filers. And so you also had to be a resident of Guam in 2020. There are income thresholds, Chris, and so for married filing joint, you cannot exceed 80,000. For a single filer, a head of household, or a qualifying widower or married filing separate filers, you can't exceed 40,000. And you cannot be a non-resident alien, or of course, an estate or trust, or an individual who has passed away also doesn't qualify. So all of those are just kind of the basic eligibility requirements for this program. Of course, the actual law itself, which passed in December, was only excluded government of Guam or government and both the local and federal government employees and retirees. The executive order EO 2021-11 actually expanded the Public Law 35-136 so that it includes government employees and also government retirees. And so now that's been expanded. And again, of course, eligibility is not automatic. We're going to be requiring an actual application form and also, requiring that people submit. It's a Form 8821, which is authorization for the department to utilize their tax return information to process payments for this program.
Do you anticipate, or do you have a date when the application will go live?
I don't have an actual date, but our target is to get that application up and running and, of course, available online and by paper by the time that the final guidance is provided And so, that's something that we're working on now, and we've been working on for the last several weeks. And so, again, our desire, our goal is to make sure that we are ready once the guidance is also provided. The final guidance for the ARP Act funding is provided, and that's what we're doing. And I'm not sure, I'm not as familiar with the guidelines and the timeframes for those ARP funding guidelines. I know DOA and BBMR are following that very closely, but that's something that I'm not as familiar with.
All right. I guess we'll just close off here with DMV operation status. How's the new vehicle registration satellite office over there at DPW?
You know what? I've heard a lot of really great comments about about having it up there at the DPW Building B. I've gone up there myself. I've had friends who have gone up there as well and have had a pretty good experience. DPW want to thank Director Ariola for his help to try to get that place up and running quickly. And we're very happy that our team is up there. And again, the move to DPW Building B was to make sure that we can have more people 5 days a week servicing for a driver's license here at Rev Tax in Barrigada. And so, again, we really, as a goal, of course, we strategically would like to be all together, all of the branches in our agency. We moved that particular branch out so that way we could accommodate the driver's license demand. As you saw, there were times when the line was going all the way up to the SNU right here in Barrigada Heights, and that's quite a pretty long road, a stretch of road. So now we're not seeing that, and we're very happy. Of course, we're able to see people as walk-ins. I actually have people who called me and said they've been able to come in as a walk-in and didn't have a big challenge in trying to get a license. So, we believe it's going well. Obviously there's always improvement, and, that's, how it is there's always going to be improvement areas to improve. And, as we find those areas, and we work to address them the best we can.
Daphne, thank you. Anything in closing?
No, I just want to say thank you again for getting me on this morning, Chris and Jason. It's always a pleasure for me to get on with you. And, of course, we have been, just really quickly, just want to recap that we have, if you recall, we've been working to set up a customer call center. We did hire somebody within the last couple of weeks. It's our second week now as the supervisor for our call center. If you have any questions, concerns, please call 635-1840, 1841, or 7651. We do have live people who are manning those lines and who are doing their best to answer your questions. If you don't get in the first time, please just try again. We're doing our best again to get, to have people available so we can answer your questions and to serve our people, because that's what we're here for. So thank you again, Chris, and thank you, Jason, for having me on, and have a great day, and have a great day, Guam.
Yeah, hey, Daph, real quick, I just wanted to say I've heard from more than one person, including my own mom, that, customer service is like a hallmark of Rev Tax, but everybody says, you guys do such an effective job of taking care of senior citizens and our Manumco when they come in for whatever kind of service and everything like that. So on behalf of all seniors and everything like that, you guys are doing an amazing job.
Oh, thank you so much, Jason. You know what, our Manumco, it's part of our culture. Our Manumco are very hugely important to us. Our Manumco, our veterans, our individuals with disabilities. Of course, we want to make sure we take care of all of our people, but we do our best to make sure we serve, because you know what, I think for myself, being someone who had a family member that I, under my care, who I was also part of caring for, who had a disability, I totally understand the challenges that people face. And so, you know what, I want to say thank you for mentioning that. And you know what, we do our best. We're not perfect, far from perfect over here, but we do our best every day. And that is what, I tell my team, all I can ask is that we do our best, that you do your best. And, of course, again, we're not perfect, but we do our best every day, because again, we're here to serve our people. But thank you for that. We really appreciate that. Absolutely. And I'll relay that to my team.
Viva Rev Tax.
Right on,
Viva,
Jay.
Viva Rev Tax.
Right
Thanks,
on.
everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you, Daph. There you go. We had a comment here, Lance. It's still